Hi everyone, so Grandmasters have finally released this season in Destiny 2, and with the release of Grandmasters, the hardest piece of content is now available to play. Now that it is available, and if you have tried Grandmasters before, they are an extremely hard piece of endgame content that rewards plenty of great crafting materials along with Ascendant Shards or exotic armor pieces that allows you to gain all the endgame materials you need for Destiny 2. However, these Grandmaster Nightfalls are extremely hard, and with how the new Nightfalls are much harder than they were in previous seasons, it's important to go in with a good build ready and being able to survive this endgame activity content in ways that allows you to be productive to your team. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the best builds for each class. This will not include the weapons. Hopefully with these builds that you can use, you will be able to complete your Grandmaster Nightfalls and get that endgame activity loot. So starting off on Hunter, I'm going to be using a Strand build. Now this build combines the 6 Coyote exotic chest armor piece along with being able to suspend enemies using your second dodge and using the grenade charges you have to suspend enemies as well. Now in Grandmasters, if an enemy is pushing you and you have no way to stop them, a large amount of the time if you can't back up you will die because they deal so much damage. So using this build, you should be able to easily suspend all enemies in front of you, and especially those unstoppable enemies or barrier champions, that becomes such a problem once you get to them. Moving on to the Warlock, I'm sure many of you saw this coming. It's going to be the Starfire Protocol Solar build. Now this build, along with in past seasons, has been the broken and most meta option for Warlocks to use. This uses the Well of Radiance exotic along with the Starfire Protocol to allow you to spam off fusion grenades and survive with ease, especially if you combine it with the new fragment that gives you health on grenade kills. Now you are going to want to use this with Witherhoard exotic and other weapons of your choice, but do keep in mind this build has been great for many past seasons and is still great in this season. Make sure to use this build because I imagine it will be nerfed sometime in the future. And also keep in mind this build is just great for teamwork and spamming out wells, as once again the survivability of this build is unbeatable. So that's why unfortunately, even though other builds are great, this is the one build I have to recommend for Warlock. For Titan, there's actually going to be 2 builds I will recommend. This goes a lot into the previous build I made about the 3 best Titan builds, and considering 2 are going to be recommended here, this just shows you how great Titan can be and the 2 greatest builds that I think can work for this. Now the first build that I'm going to recommend, and you might have also seen this one coming, is the Synthoceps build and using the Firebolt Grenade artifact perks that are so broken this season. Now for those of you who do not know, this build allows you to spam your Firebolt grenades, causing ignitions to all enemies, along with allowing you to get in close with enemies, and with the Synthoceps damage, your melee is going to be doing a ton of damage as well. Now this build has just been overall great this season, and in endgame activities I imagine it will be perfect for you as well. Going on to the last build I have to recommend on Titan, it is the new Titan Strand build. Now this build, along with the Hunter build, works a lot in the same way, where you're going to be suspending and ultimately preventing enemies from dealing damage to you, as you will have those many options available to you to suspend targets in the air. Now remember again, suspend allows you to deal with barrier champs and unstoppable champions, so it is just a necessary build for dealing with those massive amounts of champions that are going to be in these Grandmaster Nightfalls. And with this build, I think they're just a lot better than running a bubble build on your Titan. So now that I've went through the builds that I would recommend using in Nightfalls, it's time to go over how these builds work. Now do keep in mind the more detailed descriptions of these builds will be in the past videos I've made on them, so this will be just a quick rundown of what the builds use. So starting off with the first build on the list, the subclass includes the Shackle Grenade, along with the aspects Widow's Silk and Ensnaring Slam. For the fragments, I'm using Thread of Mind, Thread of Warding, Thread of Continuity, and Thread of Generation. On my helmet, I'm using a Siphon mod of my choice, along with the Special Ammo Scout and Special Ammo Finder. On my arms, I'm using 2 Impact Induction mods, along with the Focusing Strike mod. On my chest piece, I'm using Resistance mod of my choice, along with Arc Reserves for my heavy weapon. On my legs, I'm using Weapon Surges of my choice and an Innervation mod. And on my cloak, I'm using Time Dilation, Distribution, and Bomber. On my Warlock for the super, I'm using the Fusion Grenade, along with Celestial Fire melee. I'm using Icarus Dash and Touch of Flame. And for the fragments, I'm using Ember of Blistering, Ember of Searing, Ember of Resolve, and Ember of Ashes. For the mods on my helmet, I'm combining 2 Ashes to add to its armor mods, along with the Siphon mod of my choice. For my gloves, I'm using Bolstering Detonation with Firepower and Impact Induction. For my chest, I'm using a Resistance mod of my choice, along with a Reserve mod of my choice. On my legs, I'm using Weapon Surge mods of my choice, along with an Absolution mod. And on my bond, I'm using a Time Dilation mod, along with Distribution and Bomber. This is the only build that requires artifact mods to work really well, so make sure the 2 perks you have active are Flare Up and Rain of Firebolts. I'm using the Throwing Hammer Melee and Firebolt Grenade, along with the aspects Soul Invictus and Roaring Flames. For the fragments, I'm using Ember of Ashes, Ember of Torches, Ember of Eruption, and Ember of Blistering. For my mods, I'm using 2 Assets to Assets armor mods along with the Hands-On mod. On my arms, I'm using a Heavy-Handed mod along with Grenade Kickstart and Impact Induction. On my chest piece, I'm using Resistance mods of my choice along with the Arc Reserve mod. On my legs, I'm using Recuperation along with Stacks on Stacks and Innervation. And lastly, for my class item, I'm using 2 Bomber mods along with Distribution mod. For my Titan, I'm using the Shackle Grenade along with Instant of Fray and Dranger's Lash for my aspects. For my fragments, I'm using Thread of Mind, Thread of Transmutation, Thread of Generation, and Thread of Continuity. For the mods, on my helmet, I'm using the Siphon mod of my choice along with Heavy Ammo Finder. On my arms, I'm using an Impact Induction mod along with 2 Bolstering Detonation mods. On my chest, I'm using Resistance mods of my choice along with a Reserve mod. On my legs, I'm using an Innervation mod along with a Weapon Surge mod of my choice and Installation. And finally, on my Titan mark, I'm combining 2 Bomber mods with the Distribution mod. So hopefully this video will help you pick out which build you want to use to go into Grandmaster Nightfalls. Now keep in mind, this is not an easy task, as Grandmaster Nightfalls are the hardest activity in the game, and once again, if the Nightfall changes, they're going to be even harder than they were before. So make sure you go in prepared and ready to play the same Nightfall over and over again, as it may take time to develop strats that can work to help you complete the Nightfall. Hopefully you have success in the Nightfall. Leave down in the comments below what build you think you're going to bring into the Nightfall, and good luck and have a good day.